Yeah, so we get into it. Black man versus black woman. We have to understand that the black man and black woman has been placed against each other in a versus battle, similar to the music or the hip-hop versus battle, in which we compare each other, in which we compete for respect, power. What we have to understand is that as black people, we are one. When you talk about black people, you have to address us as one. I know and I understand a lot of the times a lot of us don't act that way. A lot of us don't identify with each other as being one. But it doesn't mean that's not who we are. It's not what we are. We are black. And we are a part of the black community. You are a part of the black community. And so we have to understand that we've been played against each other for years, for centuries. There was a letter called the Willie Lynch letter. Willie Lynch letter that arrived in America in about 1711 or 1712. And in this letter, this man comes up with a plan on how to separate in the black man and the black woman, how to simmer down the revolts, because contrary to beliefs, the black man and black woman has been revolting ever since the European hit the shore of West Africa. They've been revolting. They've been fighting back. It wasn't like black folks was sitting there in Africa on the edge waiting for these Europeans to come and throw a net over them and you got me, and you know, drag them off to the boat, to the ships, and tie them down, and that's all. We never fought back. No, our ancestors fought back. They fought back so much that these whites couldn't take it. These whites could not take it. Their strategies, their plans that they had that worked at first were not working, because blacks figured out a way to overthrow these ships, to overthrow these plantations, these rice plantations, these indigo plantations, okay, these cotton plantations. You had the Nat Turner revolt. You had the Denmark Vesey revolt. You had the Haitian Revolution. But during these revolts were almost successful. But you always had a black who would squill, who would tell, who would snitch to receive his reward, which is a conversation for another day, notorious manumission, in which they will receive, or they believe they will receive, a reward for snitching on their fellow black community. And so these revolts didn't follow all the way through like they should have. But the Haitian Revolution sure did. As a matter of fact, Nat Turner's revolution was insurrection was inspired by the Haitian Revolution. It was also inspired by his wife. Nat Turner loved his wife. He stood by his wife, and his wife, Mrs. Turner, she loved Nat Turner. You see, she refused to snitch on him. Even though they offered her money and pleasures, she refused to. She remained a slave instead of being granted her freedom, or so-called freedom. She didn't snitch. That's the G code we need to follow. Not today's format of no snitching, the no snitching G code. But Nat Turner revolt didn't go through like it should, so did Denmark Vesey. Had it gone through, black folks today would have been in a much different situation. So black people were revolting, and they were about to take this country by the hands, because black folks understood we can't speak these people's language of, we are a peaceful people. Naturally, black people are. We are forgiving and peaceful people. We had to be engineered. We had to be taught to be hateful, to destroy each other, to go against each other. We was taught to do that. And we was taught that through the Willie Lynch letter, the Willie Lynch ideology. I'm just going to read a small passage from his letter, just a small passage. Again, because blacks were revolting, they were about to take their freedom. They weren't voting for their freedom. They weren't begging for their freedom. They were about to take it by the hands. What was taken away from them here in America. Haiti had already did it. Jamaica almost did it. But here in America, it was about to go down. Now, Willie Lynch, he says this: the black slave, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe even thousands of years. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male, and the young black male against the old black male. You must use the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves, and the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves. You must use the male versus the female, and the female versus the male. You must also have your white servants and your white overseers distrust all blacks. But it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Now, this was a white supremacist. This was a white supremacist telling the whites here in America how to simmer down these revolts. And it gets much deeper than that. He also talks about punishment, things like that, and buck breaking and all of that. He gets into it. This was a sick man, but his ideology did work, because today, hundreds of years, even thousands of years, but hundreds of years later, we are fighting against each other. Black man versus black female. You have black men who have these podcasts and these shows, and they're bashing black women, talking about we must hold black women accountable. And they're looking and seeking to expose these black women. But they're not the creators of the platform. The platform has already been created. You have black women who have these platforms in which they target black men and aggressively attack black men only. And they bash black men, not understanding who they're really bashing. Because when you bash one, you're actually bashing yourself. Black men, when you bash a black woman, you're actually bashing yourself. Black women, when you bash a black man, you're actually bashing yourself. Because that's not the real issue. The real issue is not whether things is equal, or if you get paid more than I get paid, or you have more rights than I have. The real issue is unity, and we must obtain unity. This letter has affected us in so many ways, black men and black women. It has affected us in slavery, because it has pitched us against each other during slavery time, and even after slavery. It has continued because it was psychological. It was a psychological engineering. This was an evil type of love that was instilled into us an evil genius that was instilled and installed into us. This created gender roles, a division amongst gender roles. This created a division in homes. We have broken homes now. It's not because of black women and black men. I know that may sound strange, but it's not because of that. It's because of the environment. The environment is what creates broken homes. If you leave the black man and the black woman, the black child alone in their natural environment, they will be fruitful and multiply. They will continue to multiply in intellect and genius within children and generations. They will multiply within wealth and riches. This is what they'll do. They will just build. There's been division in media because of the stereotypes. Now we have stereotypes of women that's unfair, that does not fit our black women. They're not bees, they're not hoes, they're not sluts. Then you have the stereotypes that's amongst our men. They refer to themselves as niggas and dogs and all of that. Not as kings and queens. We're not referring to ourselves as kings, queens, engineers, artists, performers, scientists, botanists. We're not referring to ourselves in those titles anymore. We refer to ourselves in the most derogatory forms because this is what has been placed upon us. And again, this platform has already been there. So now we have unhealthy relationships amongst each other, the black man and black woman. And why is there unhealthy relationships? Because of this letter. We have to ask ourselves, did black people have healthy relationships prior to the coming of the European? Did black people all over the world, did we have healthy relationships that last? Did we have unity amongst each other? I'm not saying perfection. Perfection has to do with a level of precision. I'm talking about unity amongst each other in love. Yes, we did. Did we have that? Yes. And so because of these things, we have unhealthy relationships and we have a lack of support for each other. We don't support each other. The black man does not support the black woman. The black woman does not support the black man. Now, in some instances, individually, in small groups, we do. But as a whole, we don't. And remember, when referring to black people, we're talking about one. They want us to refer to each other as you're Caribbean, you're African, I'm African American. No, I'm not African American, I'm just American. Oh, you're a native. They want us to, you're Australian, you're a Greek freak. Here it is, a man with an African name, and he calls himself a Greek freak. Which is crazy because they say the bigger and blacker you are, the more of a freak you are, the more intimidating you are. And he allows his name to be the Greek freak. I don't get it. So we have divisions. We have to reverse this cycle. We have to reverse the cycle. We have to break the cycle, and we have to reverse it. Instead of being disunified, we have to be unified. We have to love each other. That may sound cliche. I know a lot of us feel like people don't deserve it. You know, there are black men who feel like these black women don't deserve it. They don't step up to the plate. And black women feel the same way about black men. But if we sit there and debate amongst each other about that situation, we will never build. That's horizontal. We need to build vertically. Dr. Claude Anderson explains this perfectly, in which we need to build vertically, not horizontally. So we need to reverse what has been done to us. It's psychological engineering. So what's been done to us? The Willie Lynch letter has created division, separation amongst each other. Just black men versus black women. He said it himself. Put the black man against the black woman. So in other words, give the black man at the job, give him a raise. Don't give the black woman, but allow the black woman to work just as hard as the black man. This will create division. This keeps the division going. But we must be able to reverse this. How can we reverse this? We reverse it by breaking the cycle. How do we break the cycle? We need to identify. First, we need to identify what the problem is. The problem is that we're not unified as a black man, black woman. We don't want each other. We don't procreate with each other as we should. So we need to identify the elephant in the room. It's a problem. So we don't listen to each other. We don't talk to each other. We don't value each other. So we have to listen to each other in order to value each other. We have to empathize with each other and sympathize with each other in order to value each other. I'm not saying man become like a woman or woman become like a man, but we need to put each other first. And then we need to look at this historically. Everything is historical because, like the Bible says, is nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. This is an ancient saying, but it's still true. There's nothing new under the sun, so everything is historical. So if you want to know how to fix a situation, you look back at history. See where our ancestors either had the greatest decisions or where they had the not so great decisions. And we learn from the both of them. We reserve space to learn. And then we push forward with that learning. We put it into practicals. This is how we advance. Racism affects our life in 9 different areas: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sexual relations, and war. Nellie Fuller explains this perfectly. And so being that racism affects us in those areas, we have to combat that. But we don't combat racism by combating each other. We combat racism by combating white supremacy. They created racism. They created races. There was one human race. They created the division. So white supremacy, they own entertainment. So they create the platforms in which black men and black women can bash each other and embarrass each other, distort the truth. They create that. We participate in it, and just because they create it don't mean we have to participate in it. But again, we've been psychologically engineered and socially engineered to believe that white is better, and to believe that white grass is greener and white ice is colder. So we're always going to flock to the white man's form of entertainment, form of economics, form of education, instead of our own. We've been brainwashed that way ever since we were a child. Ever since we were infants, we've been brainwashed. So we have to decolonize our minds. We have to identify the problem. We have to identify who the troublemakers are. Sometimes they look just like us. They're black folks, and they're selling our folks out. Just like how the black folks who sold out Denmark VC, Nat Turner, and all of the other brothers and sisters who revolted in Louisiana, things like, who revolted all around and led insurrections and was looking to resurrect the black man and black woman. Understand that black men and black women, they have loved each other. The black man has always loved the black woman. He's loved her so much that he's made statues out of her. He's worshipped her as a god, not as a president, not as a prime minister, not just as a regular queen. He worshipped her as a god. black women did the same thing for black men. You had Shaka Zulu, who loved his mother. He loved the women. He would kill you for his women. The Zulus would kill you for their women. You had Queen Nzinga, who would kill you for her men. She fought slavery to the day she died, and she would kill you for one of her men. Any race that violated her men, she would kill you. She didn't play no games. So we have to understand that it's just natural for us to love each other, but it's normal for us. But now we've been given an abnormality. It's abnormal for us to love each other, and then they try to hide it under the premise that we need to be diversified and mate with and procreate and mate with other races. And if you don't, then you're considered a racist when it's impossible for a black person to be a racist. So we need to unify by identifying a problem, addressing the elephant in the room, empathizing with each other, sympathizing with each other, creating platforms in which we uplift each other. We're not talking about act like it's a perfect world. We know that it's not. We understand that there's men and women that utilizes the court system to spite the man and to spite the black woman. We understand that. But we didn't create that court system. We were only 3/5 of a man. They considered that 3/5 of a human being when they created that system. So the system was never created to benefit us. The court system I'm talking about was never created to benefit black folks. So we have to understand that. As a matter of fact, in the Dred Scott case, the judge said that the white man has no rule. The black man has no rules in which the white man is bound to respect. The black man has no rights. I'm sorry, not rules, but rights. The black man has no rights in which a white man is bound to respect. So he was basically saying we ain't gotta respect you or your family. We can care less. And they do the same thing in entertainment. They do the same thing in labor and law and politics. They got the black man, the black woman fighting against each other, and we voting against each other, thinking, we're voting for the best of one and over the other. It's crazy. For a minute, we need to put all that mess to the side and unify. And after we've unified, then we can go back and just slightly and lightly discuss whether we agree or disagree with anything. So again, we have to identify, we have to rectify the problem by identifying who's the enemy. We have to ask the proper questions. How and why? Why were these platforms created for us to destroy each other, to bash each other? How was it created? And when was it created? If black people don't own entertainment, if we are not the owners of our own entertainment, then who allows us? Who owns it? And who's allowing us to bash each other? So black women, love your black men. Black men, love your black women. We are precious to each other. We have to value each other. We have to hold each other up high. We need to put each other first. That is the natural way of doing things. It's the way that our ancestors have done things. They've put each other first. This is why their marriages last so long. This is why they were commended. We valued each other. We had a system attached to that value. We didn't just say we value each other. We actually went out and did it. And we had a system. We had a way of doing it. So value each other. Love each other. Again, that may sound cliche, but it's the truth. Because we can't push forward with building our black nation here in America if we are continuing to be divisive amongst each other. Always looking at a way to disagree with each other just for the sake of disagreeing. Let's stop listening to these other black folks who seek to divide, who don't even take care of their own children. They won't take care of their own children, but they'll tell you how to hold somebody else's children accountable. Doesn't make any sense. Let's stop listening to these black women who only attack black men. And then maybe once in a while they attack another race, but for the most part, black men. Let's stop looking and paying attention and giving money to these people, these black men who are bashing black women, who are purposely attacking black women. And we need to check our young men. When they start talking that nonsense, we need to put them on to it and say, yo, that's not all black women. They've been brainwashed. That's black inferiority. It's up to us as black people to ensure the survival of our race. We have to ensure the survival of our race by rectifying our problem, breaking the cycle by talking, empathizing, sympathizing, listening to each other. We have to break the cycle by reversing the process, the brainwashing process. We have to go from feeling inferior to feeling superior. We have to know and walk around and understand that. And understand the strongest black women had black men right by them. Ella Baker had black men right by her in the civil rights, protecting her. Malcolm X had Betty Shabazz right there. When he felt like just giving in a little bit and he felt discouraged, she chilled him on. Marcus Garvey had both Amy Garveys pushing him on. When he was locked up, Amy Garvey is pushing forward his message and everything. These are things that we're just not told. So our black men loved our black women loved our black men before slavery and even after slavery. We have to get back to that. Fannie Lou Hamer, even after she was beaten in jail by two black men, the two black men was forced to beat her by white police officers. She was beaten nearly to death, inches within death. She still loved black men after that. She still fought for black men. She still fought for black women. We have to love each other. We have to get away from all these feminist groups and Black Lives Matter organizations, because those organizations are not ran by us. They are used to divide us. So let's continue to love each other. And if we don't, let's find it. And how do you find it? It's there in your face. Love your black women. Love your black men. So we can have strong, courageous black children. Our black children are watching us. We need to create powerful black community family structure so that our next generations, next couple of generations will rise up to be leaders, businessmen, educators, positive entertainers, positive workers, politicians who are really going to do for their people. Not to be afraid to say black and they want to say black and brown. No, black people, black. And also in which they would not be afraid or ashamed to procreate with each other to create an even stronger black nation. They won't be afraid to look at their faith, their spiritual beliefs from an African perspective, which is the original perspective. And they won't be afraid to go to war for each other. We had to create these things, and we can. It's possible. There are some folks who are trying to do it. There are some folks who are on the way, but we need the nation as a whole, not individual. Black people, black nation as a whole. So once again, much love to you guys. Thanks for turning in, for tuning in, for listening. Much love to all my No Compromise Media family. Much love to my son. Much love to my daughter. Much love, most importantly, to my wife, my queen, my realtor, my educator, my lawyer. Much love to you. Much love to all of my bros and sisters that's I said sisters sisters that's out there doing their podcast. My boy Kyle, Rolanda, my boy Warren G, representing. Much love to Warren G. Much love to all of y'all representing the black community. The black community, not black and brown. We gotta get away from that. The black community. We'll let the brown people handle their own. We hold our own. The black community. Much love to y'all, man. Much love to all my bros, my sisters that was a part of the features on the No Compromise Media, and we're going to continue this discussion on another topic, man. The next topic is going to be dope. We're going to have another one next week. That would be the first week of November. I'm going to try to get these in every Thursday or every Friday, man. So much love to y'all, man. I appreciate you guys. Much love to my homegirl Tina, who's representing with her podcast as well. Much love, man. Much love to the black community. Again, we must unify black men and black women. There's no such thing as a versus when it comes to us. It has to be black man and black woman and black child. That's the trifecta. That's the triple threat. That's the original Trinity. Black man, black woman, black child. God created that. One love, y'all. No Compromise Media.